How many times have you been driving around in your car and a Billy Joel song comes on the radio and you just feel yourself singing at the top of your lungs? You're playing air drums, you're playing air piano, even though you have no knowledge of what to do with a regular piano. It's totally normal, don't worry. Happens to all of us. When you live on Long Island, there's a special gear that your head goes into because Billy Joel is like our patron saint of music. He kind of makes us feel like we have a heartland here on Long Island. Obviously Nassau County was his stomping grounds, and so places like Levittown, which, this song earlier on, it might have been living here in Levittown, which would have changed the course of history a little bit. We'll get into how exactly the song hatched and everything like that. But I think what's going to be unique about this video compared to others is that we're arranging it for guitar. For those who don't know the context, Allentown itself is a metaphor for really any mill towns that were impacted by economic downturn, through time. And so, in a way, you could look at many different places in the world, not just in Pennsylvania, in particular in Allentown. People have commented, as well as Billy Joel, in interviews, even when at the release of the Nylon Curtain, which is the album that this song debuted on, he talks about the idea that it's a composite. It's not meant to only be about this town. It just had a great ring to it. According to Billy, it almost sounded like our town, Allentown. The actual steel mill was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. At the time, I guess, when the song was conceived back in the 70s, when Billy was touring through the Lehigh Valley, he had a lot of different college towns that he was popping into. And, he became acquainted with the plight of, the fact that the steel industry was little by little chipping away and eventually to be downsized and outsourced, and just the changing of a way of life. Many places were having a contraction of their industries in a similar way. Here on Long Island, we had Grumman, which was a company that employed a lot of people, and they built the F-14 Tomcat. They built the lunar module that landed on the moon's surface. And so there was a lot of pride, and then the contracts kind of dried up, where people thought there was a mutual relationship and need between, the company and their family. And for a while, that was the case. That getting really hard to stay with that really plaintive inflection to it is just perfect, and Billy talks about this album being a maturing album, the Nylon Curtain. Songs that back this one up, like Goodnight Saigon, amazing. Pressure, another song. The recording studio was super important. He's Beatle influenced. He talks about that a lot. And this, he at the time, he referred to this almost like as his Sgt. Pepper, where he wanted to go in and play the studio like an instrument, along the lines of a Phil Spector or like the Beatles. And I think he does an incredible job if you listen to the other album tracks, but this one too. And it's so exquisitely written. It goes through key changes that make sense to establishing this sense of struggle. So if you look at those chords, it's a C add 9, E, D, and then G, but it's mellowed because the root is not being expressed here. That G doesn't even land. So he's kind of cheating the resolve. And so every part of this, it's not a full C, it's a C add 9. It's not a way open E minor there. It's a fragment, almost like, right? That feeling, that song, while in a major key, feels very sad. It feels like it's got a gloom or a shadow being cast upon it. And the same thing is true here, that there's this. And that bass note keeps it moving, and it keeps it pumping the way in the beginning of that song you hear that kind of industrial pile driver, banging in the background. They do similar things where they'll pull real sounds, but they'll also fabricate sounds. And when you see Billy Joel live, or you see live footage of him playing, his saxophone player is banging away on a pipe with a hammer, and it really ties it in so incredibly, and it sounds perfect. And he'd also a way of exciting the crowd, which is something that I think is one of their strengths. When you see them live, you literally feel electric, even if you're miles away, like we were the last time we saw them at Madison Square Garden. So anyway, let's get back to it. So there's that melancholy intro. So then you have those other parts here where there's like this kind of a beautiful, kind of a hopeful feeling, and then it drops through this circle of fifths. You can see every one of these drops, so it goes from E minor to A to D to A minor to D to G. So it's very pretty, very classical maneuver there, and then it moves up into that. This is a pretty, really nice exchange here. This is F sharp over A. I'm playing it like this. E minor over G, and then D over F sharp, and then A sus4, and then back to A. Suspended chords galore. And that kind of gives you that floating sense, not ever becoming completely resolved as you travel through. So musically, it's a hand in glove with the lyrics. The way the parts come back together again, the way he brings that introductory chord progression in several times, but in different ways. It fits like a jigsaw puzzle, almost like a skeleton key, into or out of different pieces of the song in such a gorgeous way. So I love the composition. I'm in awe of the composition, I should say. So here's that piece.
And they're taking all the coal from the ground, and the union people go away.
So if you learn this, you got to make this part second nature. And then the last connection of that, where it comes back, is you got that really interesting chord, F over G. Never seen that in my life. So then when it comes around again, F, and then that F over G, and then F over B flat, then right into. So even in that uplift, as we mentioned before, there's a struggling, there's a nylon curtain over it that's preventing it from breaking through. So what can you say? It's exquisite writing. He's among the best ever rock singers, writers, composers, piano players, you name it. He's a living legend. Sounds corny, but he is that. And again, just to close it, if you want to hear a song that's not an industry in decline, listen to Downeaster Alexa. Impeccable song, and it tells the story of what it's like in the heritage around here. If you were a bayman, and many people, especially if your family goes back generations on the island here, at some point had a livelihood that was tied to the water. It's one that I think a lot of boaters, it's kind of an anthem. My brother loves it. He named his daughter after it. So. Pretty special. So yeah, check out the rest of them on this Heartland mixtape. Let me know what you think. If you can think of any cool Heartland rock songs, please commit them to the comments below. Have fun. See you on the next one.